Don't be shy. You can ask anything you want about the film process or thoughts you had. Yes.
So actually, you yourself had mentioned in the intro that given that this was a project that spanned years, several different presidencies, I guess, occurred during those times. So starting from like Clinton to Bush to Obama to now Trump, and living in Harlem too. My question is, what sort of effect did you see occurring in Harlem based on the president that was in office?
Well, that's a good question. Well, Obama. Well, let's see, 2008. That's a good question. I can't say. Well, let's just back up because when I started the film, there's empowerment zones around the U.S. They're called Upper Manhattan. Well, this in Harlem, it's called Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zones, and there are 10 zones created across the U.S. There's one in Harlem, and when that one started, this is under Clinton. That one started, and its main focus was really big businesses, and the community came back and said, wait a second, you can't have these empowerment zones here, and you're just we have these temporary jobs, you're giving these monies we understand the reasoning, we want to bring revenue into the community, which creates jobs, but are these jobs permanent, are they temporary? But the community came back and said, your mission for this empowerment zone is not tailored to us. So late, and this is a brief, this is a very abbreviated version, but the mission of the empowerment zone changed, and they had to fund small businesses because that's what communities are made of. They're not made of just big businesses. So I would say one aspect would be the empowerment zones changing their focus. They got extended. They were supposed to it was only supposed to be, I want to say 15-year. It wasn't supposed to be, it got extended. That's one thing that definitely went over time periods. I would think a better question is actually your mayors, because the mayors changed in this film. And a housing emphasis changed in the film. Our current mayor is aware that we need affordable housing. That wasn't the fact with Bloomberg or Giuliani. They didn't have an interest in, may have had an interest, but not a focus or key point in their campaign on making sure that buildings that went up had to address affordable housing. I would say for sure that is we're still fighting that as you are here, but I would say that's something that's definitely changed, and that is on the forefront in any political campaign where it wasn't as prevalent, and people have spoke up to that even more so over the years, and I know we all feel that heavily here. Yes.
So I noticed in the film that it was said, well, I guess suggested that the black owners who wanted to, city developers who wanted to buy the properties that were vacant and redevelop them themselves and create their own businesses, they weren't given the loans. But the white people that wanted to come in and spend millions of dollars on redeveloping buildings were given that opportunity. What was that reason that the black people were not?
Are you talking about the redlining early on? Are you talking about when people talked about in the 70s and 80s when they wanted to get loans and they weren't able to? Is that what you're speaking about?
Well, I guess there's two questions. So yes, before the redlining policies came in place, and then the second would be even after when the new buildings, later on in the film were being developed, how come the black people weren't able to buy the property?
So your first question is, you can all look this up in Wikipedia. You can all look it up. We can talk to probably Carol here. Redlining is real. People could not go to the banks. They would say, no, where do you live? Nope, sorry. I can't give you that loan. Bye. So that was just, it happened. We didn't, back then there wasn't much enforcement on banks I'm sure there's practices now that aren't so bold in your face as redlining, but they skirt around the issue. And so, but people got around those issues of redlining because some of my screenings, residents spoke out and said, I made deals directly with the owner of the brownstone, and I did a loan directly with them with cash. So people did get around it. I was glad to hear people speak up in some of the screenings. Your second question was about businesses getting money. Are you talking about apartments? Are you talking about businesses? Are you talking about apartment buildings and then loan? Maybe I'm not getting this, but this is a bigger answer. The thing that's unique about Harlem is there's a huge housing stock, or was, that was abandoned. And so the city had an enormous amount of housing stock to get rid of because they didn't want to have it on their hands. And so unlike anywhere else, probably just like Newark, the city came up with a lot of different programs and incentives, one of them being TIL, tenement instrument lease programs. Another one, as you moved on later on, maybe in the 2000s, 90s, the city would give money to these buildings. If you have 5%, 10%, I'll give you a tax rebate, or I'll cut off this, but you have to do a fraction for affordable. So we will help cut you a break, but you have to do this. So the big fight now is that cut needs to be a little bigger. It was cute 10 years ago when it was 5 and 10, but now it needs to be about 10, 15, 20%. And so big developers can take those projects on, whereas small business owners, small developers can't take that on as big. One of the women in the films, The Villa, Jackson Preston, who's always eloquently speaking, she's really a joy to interview. She talks about, she's an architect that raised in Harlem, went to school at City College. She talks about she has a business. She talks about no one wanted to invest in building. She had projects she wanted to get off the ground early on in the 90s, but no one wanted to invest in her and her projects back then. They didn't deem it worthy because they didn't think people would come, and the banks and the financing would make money back. So back then when she was in the trenches, when no one else wanted to do that, she couldn't get those loans. She couldn't get that financing. But the story is different now because it's about money. It's about making your money back and making it flip and triple and quadruple. That wasn't, Harlem it's the same place, it's the same quadrant. It's always been located at Central Park, it's always been located near the water, it's always been located near parks. It's the same, easy access in and out. People just caught on to it a little late. I'm just saying that it's always been the beautiful place, but real estate drives everything. And it also drives money and value and what is deemed profitable. Unfortunately, that's what it is.